Hello, everyone, and welcome back to College Football Corner. Kevin Walsh alongside Jersey Joe Archino. As always, what else is new? Another terrific week of college football games to prepare for, but also to recap. Let's start with the big upset of the week. Navy taking down Houston. A game when I looked at it originally on the slate, I was like, another wash. Houston continues to go unbeaten. Completely wrong. Navy get the upset. They're now ranked 25th. How did Navy pull this one out?
Well, look, make no mistake about it. Last weekend in college football belonged to Navy football, and it's really just an incredible thing that the way it happens because this week happens to be the 241st birthday of the U.S. Navy. So, of course, you give your hat off to them, all those guys, strength and honor, and the way they've been playing football and really improving as a program really is incredible. And this win over Houston kind of says it all. I really look at this team, at this Navy program, what they've been able to do, how they've been building off of this. They've given Ohio State problems. They really are competitive against almost anyone, and that speaks to coaching. That speaks to everything that they have there. And for Navy, where they're so focused on so many things, for them to really continue to improve, I think you've got to give them so much credit, all the credit in the world.
Terrific job by Navy. And they virtually put the nail in the coffin there for Houston's playoff hopes. That team needed to be unbeaten if they wanted to sniff the Final Four. They now lost. To me, the biggest question is Tom Herman. Should he stay? Should he go? What do you anticipate for the highly regarded head coach?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you've watched this show before. You know we're very big advocates of Tom Herman. I think I love what he did at Ohio State, what he's continued to do at this Houston team. And, look, Navy gives everyone problems, like I said before. And I think it's easy to look at the game and say, oh, my goodness, Houston lost to Navy. But I don't think you necessarily need to look at it that way. It's certainly not an indictment. Certainly, Houston's a game they should win. But Herman's future there, to me, he's still such a young head coach that I don't know if he's quite ready to make the jump yet. He still has a lot to learn, and I think Houston right now is the perfect place. They're going to most likely be able to join a bigger conference. That's going to boost his salary. That's going to boost the recruits he's able to bring in. To me, his perfect spot right now is staying exactly where he is.
Okay, now let's move on to another exciting game for Tennessee. What else is new? But this time they can't pull out the miracle victory. They lose to Texas A&M, and the Aggies have been really impressive. They're now still unbeaten, 6th ranked in the AP poll. What do you think about this Aggies group here?
This Texas A&M team is just tremendous. I mean, they gave very good quarterback play behind Trevor Knight. Kevin Sumlin's always doing a great job there, and they pulled off a lot of impressive wins so far this year. But on Tennessee's side of the ball, look, I mean, how many times did we say it? The bad habits for Tennessee, we're going to catch up to them eventually. And when you play a team as good as Texas A&M in all the phases, when you have a bad start, it's going to catch up to you in the end. And I think that's kind of what we saw happen.
Yeah, I think that those habits certainly did catch up to Tennessee. But for Bama, there's no bad habits. They continue to roll. They beat Arkansas. They are clearly the best team in the SEC. I think the only question is, are the Roll Tide right now the best team in the country? What do you think?
I would answer that question and say no. It's easy to look at them and say that they are, but I don't think so. I still think the thing that's going to hurt them is Jalen Hurts. And I say that delicately because Jalen Hurts has done a tremendous job. He had a great game against Arkansas, 2 touchdowns in the air, 2 on the ground. He's come together nicely. But he's still very raw and very inexperienced. And Alabama's schedule moving forward gets extremely tough. You're talking about this game against Arkansas. The next one after that is, of course, Tennessee. They still got to play LSU. They still have to play Mississippi State. You can't forget again about the Iron Bowl. And that's without the SEC championship we're even talking about. So the SEC, of course, is normally as tough as it gets. But to me, Alabama still is just a little bit short of being the best team because I think Jalen Hurts is still a little bit raw, but he is a very talented quarterback.
Let's move on to another talented freshman quarterback. Francois of FSU pulls out a big road victory over Miami. What do you think about this FSU team being able to bounce back the way they did and the poise and the toughness shown by their freshman QB?
Well, that's the thing you've got to like the most about this game. I mean, that was a game where just a traditional team going up against another traditional team, a historic rivalry built between the two of them. And Francois, what he did in that game showing toughness, I mean, Miami's pass rush was really getting after him time and time again. He was on the ground a lot, but he just kept getting back up. And I think you have to like the fight and the mentality that he's been able to show you. It hasn't been the easiest season for Florida State. There's been a lot of ups and downs. But if there's one thing that you see about Jimbo Fisher and his players is that they don't ever give up. And that's really a reflection on the mindset he has and what he preaches to them. Francois, to me, is being molded into a really, really special quarterback. He's just learning, and everybody learns at different rates, and I think he's one of those guys where when he's continuing to learn the right way, he's really going to have a great career one day.
Tons of credit also, like you said, for Jimbo. I want to talk about the other coach, though, in this game. Mark Richt, his real true test, his first test, I would say, at Miami, comes up short, but by inches there. It was a blocked extra point that, cost them this game. How do you feel about the U? Is it safe to say the U is back?
I think you do have to say the U is back. I mean, certainly this was a loss, their biggest tough test of the season so far, and they lose it. But to me, it certainly takes time. And Richt is a guy where his resume speaks for himself. The amount of winning he did at Georgia speaks for itself. And remember, this isn't really his team this season. This is his first year, so he inherits what was there. I think I'll judge him much more on what Miami looks like next season, but I think you can already clearly see that there's organization there. They're ready in a game like this, and it came down to the last play. It was a blocked extra point. They lose the game like that. I don't think there's any doubt, and I have no hesitation saying that the U is back.
All right, let's move on to the picks now. Another ACC matchup here. It's Duke versus Louisville. Louisville has had some time off after their loss to Clemson. How do the Cardinals bounce back?
I think it's easy to say that Louisville wins this game, but to me there's a little bit I think you do need to be concerned about. And we've seen a lot of teams in college football, they go and they play against their toughest game, and then they have a little bit of a letdown after that. And certainly I think we saw with Stanford, we've seen it with some other ones. I don't think it happens to Louisville, but to me, it really, this is an important game for them. Duke is not a slouch. Duke is very well coached. Duke is going to be here to play, and they're going to give them fits. But to me, I need to see that steam. I need to see that same fire from Louisville coming off their loss to Clemson. They had a week in between to look at the tape, to digest everything. I think they win, but they need to win it very convincingly.
No concerns for me. I've told you off air, even a little on air, I am buying into Lamar Jackson. I think he will win the Heisman. I think he continues this Heisman run with a big game here at home up against Duke. Bama, Tennessee. Again, you mentioned for Bama, I mean, the schedule is only going to get tougher as we go. They're now on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee is going to, be playing with some fire in them. They probably feel like they could have won that game last week. Who do you think comes out on top?
I don't know how long we've been saying it, but we've been saying it for a while now. Butch Jones, we need a signature start-to-end performance. Alabama has not lost to Tennessee in 9+ seasons. That's an incredible record there when you're talking about two historic powerhouses in college football. To me, this is a game where, look, I think Alabama's bound to slip up eventually. Their schedule is too hard. They don't have enough breaks in this schedule, the bulk of it happening right now. And I'm going with Tennessee here. It's been 9 seasons. They've been waiting a long time to get a win against Alabama. They're coming off their first loss of the season. They've been the best second-half team in college football. And Alabama, they've had a great year. But the one thing that they have struggled in the most this season is in the second half. They have struggled with competitive, highly powered offenses, shutting them down. Ole Miss almost came from behind. Last week we saw against Arkansas, they put a lot of points up in the second half. Tennessee is the best team in the nation in the second half, and I think that's why they win this game.
You made the jump. I can't do it just yet. I have said Bama. There's a loss somewhere in that schedule. I still don't think it's this week. And it sets up beautifully for Tennessee to take advantage of Bama's second half woes and how they thrive there in the second half. But I think fatigue will set in. Tennessee has not given themselves any breaks dating back to week 1 against Appalachian State. And when you constantly have to have your starters out there for the full game, you get no rest. I think that Bama has been able to play in some blowouts where their starters are getting rest and they're staying fresh. I just think Bama continues to roll here and does take down Tennessee. Let's move on. Stanford, Notre Dame. I am so upset that this game is going to have the narrative that it does. The what could have been matchup. We came into the year McCaffrey, the likely Heisman candidate, and then you had Kaiser, who after week 1, we're all like, oh my goodness, even the loss, we said this guy's a Heisman candidate as well. Both teams are terrible. I mean, this season has fallen apart for both of them. I guess who can salvage something out of the year? Who do you think wins?
This is either way you try to talk yourself into who to pick here, it's just not easy. Do you really see Stanford losing 3 games in a row? Or do you really see the Irish losing 5 games at this point in the season? It's a brutal narrative either way you try to spin it. Obviously, McCaffrey right now, where his status for the game, very unclear. But I think more than anything, when you look at it, who do you give the home field advantage to Notre Dame? To me, I think you have to do it a little bit. Again, I'm not comfortable with giving Stanford 3 consecutive losses. I just think teams that are as well coached as they are don't lose that many games in a row, and especially with Notre Dame and some of the things they've done offensively. I'm kind of sound like I'm all over the place, and I probably am, because this is a confusing game. I'm going with Stanford here. I literally just made that pick in my head. I've been back and forth even now. I didn't know who I was picking until this second, but I'm going with Stanford.
I'm rolling with Notre Dame here. I'm actually pretty confident, surprising though, with this back-and-forth game. I don't think McCaffrey will play. He seems very unlikely to play. And I don't love this. I kind of hate the quarterback that Stanford has. And the way to beat Notre Dame is through the air. I don't think they're going to be able to take advantage. Plus, this Stanford defense has looked really bad 2 weeks in a row. Kaiser, despite all the struggles around him, has been terrific. And I think that will continue. I think the Irish actually get a big win here that it won't save the season. It won't put him back in the top 25, but it will be a bit of a momentum builder to see if they can finish strong and see if Brian Kelly can hold on to his job. 2 more left on the slate that we're going to break down. Ole Miss going to Arkansas. Another SEC matchup here. It's going to be crucial as we kind of boil down the top 10 rankings. It'll be big for bowl games. Who do you think gets the win?
Well, I won't be all over the place like I was for the last matchup, but this is a very physical, tough SEC game, back and forth. Ole Miss has been very good on the road this season, pulling off some big wins. You look at Arkansas, what they were able to do last week, really a strong second half against Alabama. I think that strong second half carries over to this game for Arkansas. I like Ole Miss. I think they're battle-tested on the road. Chad Kelly's had some big moments on the road. But to me, everyone's going on Ole Miss, and for a road team like that, I think it's too easy right now to pick the team that just lost, and I think Arkansas pulls it off.
I actually like this. Normally we find ourselves agreeing on so many games, but I am actually going with Ole Miss. I like that they're coming off the bye. I think in college football that's a big deal. When you can give good head coaches the opportunity to have an extra week to prepare, they normally take advantage. I'm really interested to see how Chad Kelly plays. Obviously, more off-the-field issues for this kid last week. We'll see if he plays with some fire in his belly and puts in a big performance, or if it's a distraction and he struggles. I think it's going to be the first one, and that's why I have Ole Miss winning in this game. Last game, I would say the biggest game of the week here. It's Ohio State traveling to Wisconsin. Buckeyes, I think both of us, best team in the country. Does that hold true with it here on the road?
Look, make no doubt about it. We've always been in Ohio State's corner. I think this is a true Big Ten matchup here. Michigan held Wisconsin to 7. They only won that game by 7. 14-7 was the final in that one. So I think when you look at this game, are you expecting a similar storyline? And I just don't see that happening. Against Indiana last weekend, we saw Ohio State struggle a little bit, but they composed themselves. They rally at the end. To me, they just have the best combination right now in the country of quarterback, head coach with Urban Meyer, and JT Barrett. To me, the thing that separates Ohio State from everyone else in their conference is offense. They just have an offensive capability and firepower from JT Barrett to the running game to the receivers that no one else can muster up. And at the end of the day, they're just too talented offensively, even though they're on the road, to not win this game.
Wisconsin's defense has truly impressed me. I still think, though, that JT can find success. And even if I'm wrong there, I'm very confident that Wisconsin's offense will not be able to do anything up against Ohio State because Ohio State's defense is very good and Wisconsin's offense is very bad. I think the Buckeyes continue to roll. But that is going to do it for us here on College Football Corner. For Jersey Joe Archino, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you guys next time.